C'est impossible d'apprendre le français, j'en ai assez. The secret to fluent French isn't more grammar books or vocabulary lists. It's a simple 10-minute daily routine that schools never teach you. I've helped thousands of students achieve more progress in 1 year of using this method than in 10 years of traditional French classes. Bonjour, je suis Géraldine de Commune Française. Aujourd'hui, je vais partager avec vous une méthode qui a transformé l'apprentissage du français pour mes étudiants. Let's address the elephant in the room. Traditional French learning is broken. It's not the fault of the French teachers at school, not at all. It's because school is all about passing exams, and this is what teachers are required to do for you to succeed. So here is why it's broken in the learning process. 1, it prioritizes grammar rules over practical conversation. 2, it treats French as information to memorize, not a skill to develop. 3, it ignores how your brain naturally acquires language. 4, it keeps you dependent on structured lessons instead of developing real-world fluency. And 5, it rarely exposes you to authentic native speech patterns and expressions. It's all about the CDs with the textbook. And again, I'm not blaming any French teacher here. They do what they're required to do, and that's fine. For learning English in France, it's exactly the same problem. Think about it. Did you learn your native language by first studying grammar rules? Of course not. You absorbed it naturally through constant exposure and practical use. Yet, most language learning methods completely ignore this fundamental truth. This is why I've developed a completely different approach, one based on how your brain naturally acquires language. This method creates what neuroscientists call language acquisition pathways in your brain. Instead of treating French as information to memorize, it helps your brain process French the same way it processes your native language, naturally and automatically. The system has 5 key elements: the psychological foundation, the daily 10-minute routine, the resource evolution system, the application ecosystem and the real-world connection. Le système ne vous demandera que 10 minutes par jour, c'est tout. Mais ces 10 minutes sont magiques quand elles sont bien structurées. On days when you have more time and energy, you can accelerate your progress with additional activities. But the 10-minute routine daily is your non-negotiable foundation. It's what ensures steady progress even during your busiest periods. Let's start with the most important element, the psychological foundation, before I reveal the exact 10-minute routine. The hard truth is that your why needs to be stronger than the discomfort of learning. Without compelling personal reasons, you will give up when learning gets challenging. And it will get challenging because French is tricky. I've seen it happen countless times. Students start with enthusiasm but abandon their French journey as soon as it becomes difficult. The difference between those who succeed and those who give up isn't intelligence or talent, it's motivation. J'ai vu tellement d'étudiants abandonner parce que leur motivation n'était pas assez forte. La motivation, c'est comme un muscle. Il faut l'entraîner tous les jours. The strongest motivations are deeply personal. Maybe you're learning French to better enjoy French culture like films, music, or books. Keep your brain active during retirement. Explore your heritage and family roots. Connect with your French-speaking grandchildren. Fulfill a lifelong dream of living in Paris, or simply making the most out of your upcoming trip to France. One of my students, Sarah, keeps a photo of her grandson Arthur on her desk next to a small French flag. Arthur is growing up in France and they connect via FaceTime weekly. This simple reminder motivates her to keep learning French a little bit every day so she can feel a bit more connected to his everyday life with each call. Here's what I want you to do. Write down your personal French motivation and place it on a pretty post-it note in a place that you see every day, on your bathroom mirror, on your fridge, on your desk, or as your phone wallpaper. This creates what I call your motivation anchor. Something to pull you back to practice even on days when you don't feel like it. This leads us to emotional validation. When you experience those small wins like understanding your first French joke or successfully ordering in a restaurant, record them in a French wins journal. These documented successes become powerful fuel when motivation dips. Now, let me show you the exact 10-minute routine that will transform your French. Here is the heart of the method, your daily 10-minute routine that combines passive listening with active practice. Every morning, listen to authentic French for at least 5 minutes. This could be a French podcast during your commute, French music in the shower, a French YouTube video while getting dressed, the news in French while making breakfast, an audiobook when you're walking your dog. The key is consistency and integration in your existing routine. You're not adding time to your day. You're transforming dead time into learning time. L'immersion passive est cruciale. Même si vous ne comprenez pas tout, votre cerveau absorbe les rythmes, les intonations et les structures du français. What's happening neurologically is fascinating. Your brain is creating neural pathways for French sounds and patterns, even when you're not consciously studying. It's like preparing the soil before planting seeds. You're creating the perfect environment for active learning to take root. Later in the day, spend 5 minutes on active practice. This could be a listen and repeat exercise like the ones on my channel. Speaking practice with a language partner, even over message. Writing a short paragraph in French about your day. Reading a French article aloud, focusing on pronunciation. Shadowing a French speaker. It means repeating what they say in the same intonation. You can also record yourself speaking French and listening back critically. The magic happens when you combine passive and active learning consistently. Passive exposure primes your brain while active practice solidifies the neural connections. Let me demonstrate a quick listen and repeat exercise right now that you can do with me. Répétez après moi. Bonjour, vous allez bien? Ça va, oui. Et vous? Qu'est-ce que vous faites ce week-end? Je vais au cinéma avec des amis. Vous voulez venir? Ça fait longtemps que je voulais voir ce film. On ira dîner tous ensemble après. Je connais un bon restaurant dans le coin. Did you see how simple that was? Just 5 minutes, but done consistently, this transforms how your brain processes French. This 10-minute routine is your daily non-negotiable foundation. On days when you have more time and energy, you can accelerate your progress with the other elements of the system. One of my students, Thomas, used only this 10-minute routine for 3 months and was amazed at how he could suddenly understand snippets of conversations when he visited Nice. The human brain is remarkably efficient when you work with it, not against it. The most successful French learners follow a clear progression in the tools they use. Most beginners make the mistake of staying too long in the beginner phase, endlessly collecting vocabulary without applying it. As your skills grow, your resources need to evolve as well. This is where many learners get stuck. They keep using beginner tools even when they're ready for more challenging material. The progress should look something like this. Structured basics for 1 to 3 months. You can use apps like Duolingo or Babbel for core vocabulary, simple textbooks with basic grammar explanations, beginner YouTube videos with dual subtitles, simplified French stories designed for learners. The second step is guided immersion for 3 to 6 months. You can use podcasts designed for intermediate learners, simplified French stories and news articles, language exchange partners for basic conversation, and YouTube videos with captions. You can also use intermediate grammar resources focused on conversation. And at last, authentic content. You can use French YouTube channels on topics that you enjoy. You can also use Netflix with a plugin called Language Reactor for dual subtitles. You can use podcasts created for native French speakers. You can also use books written for French readers. For example, you can start with young adult fiction. And French social media accounts in your area of interest. Un conseil important, ayez toujours un pied dans le niveau suivant. Si vous êtes trop à l'aise avec vos ressources actuelles, vous ne progressez pas aussi vite que possible. The game changer for many of my students is discovering French YouTube videos with dual subtitles. This creates a perfect bridge between structured learning and authentic content. The YouTube algorithms then start suggesting content matched to your level, creating a personalized learning path. For example, one student starting with my listen and repeat videos, then moved to Easy French Street interviews with dual subtitles, then finally graduated to watching French cooking channels without any subtitles. This natural progression kept her motivated while continuously challenging her abilities. Your resource journey should feel like climbing a ladder. Each step is slightly more difficult than the last, but never so difficult that you want to give up. Consistency doesn't mean the exact same thing every day. In fact, variety is crucial for preventing burnout and keeping learning enjoyable. Ce qui fait la différence, c'est la variété, la régularité. En faire un peu tous les jours. Ça ne veut pas dire faire la même chose chaque jour. Vous pouvez créer une réserve d'activités en français que vous aimez bien. For example, cooking with French recipes, reading French news on topics that you care about, watching French YouTubers in an area of interest, following French social media accounts that you like, writing in a French journal, playing video games in French, learning French through a hobby that you already enjoy, listening to French music and studying the lyrics, watching French films with French subtitles, reading comic books or graphic novels in French. The key is to have enough variety that French learning never feels like a burden. On days when you have more energy, challenge yourself with difficult content. On low energy days, choose easier activities that still keep you connected to the language. One of my students created a French activity jar. She wrote different activities on slips of paper and would pull one out every time she needed inspiration. The gamification helped her maintain enthusiasm even after months of studies. Another important aspect is using technology wisely. For example, the Language Reactor Chrome extension transforms Netflix into a powerful learning tool by providing dual subtitles. This means that you can watch shows that you'd be watching anyway while improving your French, eliminating the idea that I don't have the time, which is just an excuse. Le meilleur apprentissage se fait quand vous ne réalisez même pas que vous êtes en train d'apprendre. Now, I need to address the elephant in the room. You cannot become fluent without actually speaking with real people. No apps, no videos, no books can replace this crucial element. This is where many learners get stuck. They study for months or even years, decades, but never have real conversations because they're not ready yet. Here is the truth. You will never feel completely ready. You have to start speaking before you feel ready. Il faut oser parler avant de se sentir prêt. C'est inconfortable, mais c'est le seul chemin vers le confort en français. For many of my students, italki tutoring sessions were transformative. Having a tutor who provides personalized feedback catches mistakes that would otherwise become bad habits. More importantly, these conversations create accountability and emotional investment in your progress. One student described her first conversation as terrifying but exhilarating. She made countless mistakes but felt more progress in that 1 hour than in weeks of solo study. If private tutoring isn't in your budget, there are free alternatives as well. Language exchange apps like Tandem or HelloTalk, virtual language meetups on meetup.com, you can find a language partner on social media groups as well, online communities on Reddit, for example, with language exchange subreddits, local conversation groups at libraries or community centers. Start with just 15 minutes of conversation practice per week. You will be amazed at how quickly your confidence grows. Remember that mistakes are not failures, they're essential steps in the learning process. Every error you make and correct is creating a stronger neural pathway than perfectly memorizing phrases and just saying them. Je me souviens la première fois que j'ai dû tenir une conversation en anglais en dehors de l'école. J'étais tellement stressée. J'avais oublié la moitié de ce que j'avais appris et j'ai fait un tas d'erreurs. Chaque fois que je bloquais sur un mot, c'était un signal pour me dire qu'il fallait que je l'apprenne. Et surtout, en écoutant bien l'autre personne, j'apprenais plein de choses. Let me show you how to put all of this into practice with today's listen and repeat exercise. We'll practice a conversation that uses natural, everyday French, the kind that you will actually hear in France. Salut, ça fait longtemps? C'est clair? Quoi de neuf? Plein de trucs. On se prend un verre ce soir pour papoter? Oui, super. À 19h au Café Louis? Ça marche. À ce soir. Did you notice how different this sounds from textbook French? This is why immersion in authentic content is so crucial. It trains your ear for real-world French. Let's try another example with some colloquial expressions. T'as passé un bon week-end? Oui, c'était sympa. On est allé voir des potes à la campagne. Oh, c'est chouette de sortir de la ville de temps en temps. Carrément. Et toi, raconte. Nous, on a fait une rando dans la montagne. J'ai galéré, mais c'était ouf. Trop bien. This dialogue contains many expressions that you rarely find in textbooks, but hear constantly in France. Ouais instead of oui, sympa instead of agréable, trop instead of très. Carrément as an emphasis. Cutting words like randonnée into rando, and slang words like galérer, that means to struggle, or ouf, that's crazy or amazing in slang. The biggest challenge when learning French is not knowing your exact level and what you should be practicing next. Without a clear structure, you might spend years studying without making real progress towards fluency. That's why I created the weekly practice plan. With this free resource, you will get a clear assessment of your current level and specific exercises tailored to your needs. You will find exactly what to practice each day of the week, how to overcome common obstacles, and a simple method to track your improvement. Join over 30,000 French learners who've already downloaded this free resource. Click the link in the description and start your structured French practice today. Back to the video. N'oubliez pas, être à l'aise en français, ce n'est pas être parfait. Ce qui compte, c'est la communication. Chaque jour où vous pratiquez le français, même pendant 10 minutes seulement, vous vous rapprochez de ce moment magique où tout commence à fonctionner naturellement. One day you will be watching a French film and suddenly realize you've been following along without reading the subtitles. Or you will catch yourself thinking in French. Or you will have a conversation with a native speaker and only realize afterwards that you didn't translate anything in your head, you just spoke naturally. These moments are what make all the effort worthwhile. They're what transformed me from a language teacher into a language coach because I've seen how this method changes not just how people speak, but how they see themselves. So, are you ready to transform your French in just 10 minutes a day? Start today, and in a year from now, you will be amazed at how far you've come. À bientôt et bonne chance avec votre français.